The 2024 football season is here and the Wolves kicked it off against Valdosta State. We've got all the highlights from Saturday's action.
What does the new year have in store for Newberry sports? Well, we'll get the word from Athletics Director Sean Johnson.
And the home of the Wolves is looking better than ever. We'll take a close-up look at the history of Setzler Field and how it's adapting to serve the players and fans of today.
All that and more coming up on Wolves Weekly.
From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, this is Wolves Weekly. It's a program about Newberry College sports and about Newberry College. I'm Al Della Chica.
And I'm Brett Loftus. Our focus on Wolves Weekly will mainly be on sports, but there's going to be more than that to this series. We hope you bring a glimpse of life here at Newberry College and introduce you to some of the people who make the college what it is. But now Al has our top story as the Wolves begin their new football season. Al?
Just before the season started, head football coach Todd Knight said the Wolves were beginning 2024 against two of the three toughest opponents on the schedule. Coach Knight singled out Valdosta State, which the Wolves would face in the opener, as a perennial powerhouse. And it was a powerhouse that was more than ready for the Wolves at Setzler Field on Saturday, dashing the hopes of the 2,500 in the stands who hoped Newberry could start the season with a victory after last year's hard season. Paul Fisher has the story.
This weekend marked the season opener for Newberry football. The Newberry Wolves hosted number 5 ranked Valdosta State in what was anticipated to be a powerful matchup. Fans packed out Setzler Field and the energy level was high. The Wolves sported a new digital camouflage jersey in honor of military veterans. There was a lot of excitement leading up to the game. Valdosta State came out swinging. They had a good drive starting the game and scored early in the first quarter. Newberry College responded with a scoring drive as well. The Newberry defense held their own and came up with a few crucial stops. In the second quarter, defensive end Colby Taylor forced a fumble, recovered by linebacker Keem Bethay. This kept the momentum for the Wolves defense as they continued to get stops. Number 45, J.B. Brigman, delivered a big hit on quarterback Sammy Edwards. This opened the door for number 92, Jonathan Chavez, to make the sack. This kept the defense fired up, and number 11, Colby Taylor, would also record a sack. Ultimately, Valdosta State would score another touchdown in the second quarter and a field goal to finish the half, leaving the score 17-7 heading into halftime. The Newberry offense gained some momentum after halftime. Quarterback Isaiah Whiteside was able to make a few solid runs and gain some yardage. Rain had started to come down, and it made it harder to throw the ball. Although the Wolves were able to drive down the field, they struggled to score. The game featured a lot of defensive action for the Wolves. Throughout the second quarter, the defense was fired up and making big plays, including number 0, Jonathan Sexton, on a big third down stop. Valdosta State scored a touchdown and another field goal in the fourth quarter. The Newberry Wolves capped the game off with a scoring drive in the final minute of the game, leaving the final score 27-14. There were a lot of factors contributing to the gameplay. Heavy rain began in the second quarter and made the ball harder to throw for both teams. But the Newberry offense showed great promise in that final drive and showed that they could keep up with high-caliber teams. Ultimately, Valdosta State held the ball for almost 7 minutes longer than the Wolves were able to, contributing to the score difference. There were 11 total penalties, and both coaches are looking to clean things up heading into this week's matchup. The Wolves play on September 14th here. They take on the defending NAIA national champions, Kaiser University, at 7 p.m.
And so the Wolves fall short, 27-14 in the season's opener, although there were some promising signs in the Wolves' defense and in the last-minute touchdown run by Dwayne Wright. The Wolves will be back at Setzler Field next weekend to face off against Kaiser University, and we'll look ahead to that game a little bit later. Last Saturday's opener was also Military Appreciation Night, and the 6 new members of the Newberry College Athletics Hall of Fame were also honored. And you know, Brett, it's always kind of tough with game number 1. Valdosta State had the advantage of playing game number 2. They had started the week earlier and had gotten a big win. But you know, in the post-game comments, Coach Knight said primarily his defense played very well. They're the most seasoned unit, and I think everybody could see that last night. We played with these guys who are not too far removed from a national championship.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're the 5th-ranked team in the country, and you look at that defense, Edmund Robinson, one of the 6 guys inducted into the Hall of Fame. You've seen a lot of guys maybe looking a little bit like him Saturday night. That defense looked really, really good. I don't think the score is reflective of the way the defense is going to play this year.
Yeah, exactly. And he said the only thing, if you want to kind of nitpick just a little bit, was, you know, we always look in the broadcast booth, we make kind of light of it, but it's also a very important stat, and that is the 3rd down conversion rate. Newberry was 1 of 8. They didn't do too well continuing those drives. You know, it's so important to try to give yourself an opportunity to score points. Well, Valdosta State was 11 of 14. That's almost unheard of. The discrepancy between the 2 teams, and sure enough, they made the most of their opportunities, converting not only 3rd and shorts, but a lot of 3rd and longs.
And that's really because of their quarterback, Sammy Edwards. He was able to get out of the pocket really, really well. I think one thing that Coach Knight and the defensive coaching staff is going to focus on this week at practice is preparing for the run, because as you'll figure out later in the broadcast and later in the show today, they're going to have to stop it against the Seahawks at Kaiser this weekend.
Yeah, and then, of course, the last thing we'll talk about here, we'll talk about the offense, too. A lot of veterans returning on this crew. I mean, this is a team, a lot of them still from that 21 and 22 back-to-back conference championship teams. But the fact of the matter is, when you have a brand-new signal caller, I mean, your QB, he's your general out there, it's probably going to take a little bit of time, a few games maybe, hopefully not too long, to get that offense rolling.
Yeah, Isaiah Whiteside, I mean, it was his first game in an NCAA level game. And again, Dwayne Wright, one of those veterans you mentioned, had a really big game and scored that last-second touchdown in the ball game.
All right. Up next, Athletics Director Sean Johnson joins us to talk about what the new year brings for Newberry Athletics and what fans can look for this season when Wolves Weekly returns in a moment.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
As Newberry College Athletics begins a new chapter in the ongoing story of old rivalries and new opportunities, who better to give us some insight into what is going on than the man himself at the top? Sean Johnson became Newberry College's athletic director in April of 2022, and this year he begins his 41st year in college athletics. Sean, thank you for joining us here this week, our inaugural show on Wolves Weekly.
Yeah, excited to be here. I'm really excited for our students who are really doing a great job putting this together. I really want to thank Dr. Steve McClung and Jody Peeler and Al De La Chica for making this happen. This is an exciting start to the season. Glad to be here.
And when you talk about an exciting start to the year, what better way to start out with a new television program, especially with our great partners at Flow Sports? Kind of take us a little bit into the inside of the part that you played in help making this happen.
Well, really, it came down to Dr. McClung. Dr. McClung's been here. He's been our business dean for about a year now. And when he came here, he and I really talked a lot about, different things we wanted to try and do to really get our students involved and give them a great experience, both in communications department and sports management and in business. And he's just been a great partner. And really what we want to do in the athletic department and working with the business school is give our students the opportunity to do things while they're undergraduates so they can take that experience into the real world.
All the time in the athletic department, you're talking about how we need to get the student athletes' faces in front of the camera, but now we're going to have students behind the camera getting real world experience. I mean, how vital is that to have that at a place like Newberry College?
Well, I think it's critical. I think back to my days as an undergrad, not here at Newberry College, but at another school, and really how I started my career is I worked in the sports information office in my alma mater, and from there it really kick-started my career. And again, as you pointed out, I'm old. This is year number 41. But that's really how my career got started, is I was able to work as an undergrad, and that's really what I hope this show will provide an opportunity for our students to kickstart their career.
All right, we'd be well dismissed without asking you about the state of Newberry athletics going into yet another athletic season. Kind of give us a preview of what we should look forward in the fall.
Well, I think it's strong and it's vibrant. We have over 800 student athletes, 24 sports. I don't want to single anybody out. Obviously, we're kickstarting the fall. Our triathlon and women's rugby teams have already competed. This week's a big week because you got volleyball, cross country, football. Obviously, that's the focus of a lot of people. Volleyball will be on the road. Field hockey's at home this week. Both soccer teams will be in action. So really, it's a busy time of the year. All of our athletic trainers, strength and conditioning staff, administration behind the scenes have been preparing for this all summer. So it's going to be a great year. We're really looking forward to it.
Now, when you look at how well we can preview maybe some of the other stuff that we'll see, like Wolves Weekly, anything else you want to highlight outside that'll be off the field in the athletic department?
Right. Well, for instance, this weekend's Hall of Fame weekend, so we're bringing a lot of, we're inducting 6 or 7 people into our Hall of Fame, which is really exciting. But also exciting is we're bringing back a lot of our former Hall of Famers, or I should say Hall of Famers, they're not former Hall of Famers, but bring them back to campus. And that's something we're really going to focus on this year, is trying to get our alums back, but also really focus on our student athletes. Everything we try to do is be student athlete centered. We just had a meeting about a new nutrition app that all of our student athletes have the ability to use to help improve their nutrition, their hydration, and really focus on what they're doing academically and retention here on campus. Make sure they're involved in activities outside of athletics so they have the full Newberry College experience. And when they walk across that stage in 4 or 5 years, the thing we always want to say to them is, was it worth it? And we want them to say yes.
Sean Johnson, the absolute man, 41st year in athletics, working on his 3rd year as the athletic director here at Newberry College. For Wolves Weekly, I'm Brett Loftus. We will continue in a moment.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
One scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
When the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
I'm relying on luck, but who knows if it'll be on my side.
When it comes to disasters and emergencies, it's not a matter of if, but when. Take control. 1. Assess your needs. 2. Make a plan. 3. Engage your support network. Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell.
NCTV, Newberry.
It's been over 100 years since the first snap of a football, the quarterback calling out the play, and the roar of the crowd after a home team touchdown on this special patch of ground near the corner of College Street and what is now called Wolves Way. This emerald piece of now synthetic hallowed ground is Setzler Field, the home to the Newberry College football team, which began play in the stadium in 1922 as the Indians. Since 2010, they have been known as the Wolves. In fact, Setzler Field is one of the oldest on-campus football fields in the state of South Carolina. But many current students and residents of Newberry might not know that Setzler Field was not originally located at its current position. It was originally built about 80 yards to the east on what is now a practice field located just in front of the Pearson Residence Hall. The end zones stretched between Pearson and McLean Gymnasium, or where the swimming pool now sits. The site was shared by the baseball team as well, but in the late 1930s, the baseball coach wanted a dedicated ball field, and the decision was made to move Setzler Field toward College Street. The new stadium was built in 1938, and Newberry has played there ever since. And throughout all the history, there have been the highlights such as winning the Little Four Conference in 1940, playing in the Elks Bowl in 1954, and winning the Little Four Championship again in 1955. In more recent times, the team has had a resurgence in winning. Since joining the NCAA in 1991, Newberry won the South Atlantic Conference Championship in 2006, 2008, 2016, and back-to-back titles in 2021 and 22. But visitors to the field today might notice that things have changed around the stadium just a little bit since 1922. This is due to a multi-million-dollar renovation project undertaken by the college over the past several years. I asked Newberry College President Dr. Maurice Sherrins why now was the time to invest in the stadium.
And what I found out was a group of citizens came and just said, you know what, you've been here like for, I don't know, 4 years by then, and your predecessors, and now all you do is talk about a stadium and we don't see anything happening. That was really the impetus.
The renovation was originally projected to cost around $11 million, but how do you raise that amount of money to pay for the project?
So what we did was we said, if we want people to support this initiative of rebuilding the stadium, then we got to show them something. So we phased it. That was the first idea we ever had of phasing. And they could see what would happen. So they saw in the north, it was called the North End Zone Project for a while, the cemetery end of the stadium. And they were like, oh my gosh, they're going to do it.
In 2019, the Board of Trustees approved a $2.5 million first phase of a three-part plan to upgrade and improve the facility. The first phase included the building of the Melvin and Dolly Younts Athletic Performance Center. This 6,700 square foot building was completed in 2020 and houses a modern weight room, along with athletic training space and a space for the referees. The building sits behind the end zone on the north side of the field along Wolves Way, and also features the new scoreboard. In 2022, the $6.5 million Phase 2 of the project began with the groundbreaking of the 18,000 square foot Founders Federal Credit Union Field House. The new venue includes locker rooms for football, lacrosse, and field hockey, coaches' offices, field view classrooms, and reception areas. Along with the new building, the entire visitor side of the seating area was replaced. The new facility opened in time for the football season in the fall of 2023. And that brings us to Phase 3, which has yet to begin. This last phase will see the renovation of the home side bleachers and the construction of a new press box predicted to cost $4.5 million. In the end, the college will spend $13 million on the Setzler Field project. However, that might not be the end of the renovations.
My dream is that there is a smaller fourth phase, which is the south end of the stadium, and we just enclose it with seating. So it looks like a real college stadium.
Now that most of the project is complete, I asked football head coach Todd Knight if he has seen any benefit to the team
with the upgrades to the stadium.
Well, it helps us a lot in recruiting. I mean, even though the rich history of it, it was a little dated. And that's tough in recruiting because kids want to see the new stuff. They want to see the big stadium. They want to see the glitz and the glamour. Well, we've kind of given the old girl a facelift around here. And Setzler Field, the history will never be forgotten. And we will always be proud to be a part of that history. But there's a new page, a new chapter in the book. And now Setzler Field is something that we can sell in recruiting, and kids look at it and go, God, man, I want to be a part of that.
With recruiting having been underway for the past 4 years since the renovations began, and with the team recently winning back-to-back conference championships, the future looks bright.
You know, that first group that came in last year, we caught it on the tail end. We brought in some really good kids, but moving forward in January when we utilized the portal, those portal kids are coming from bigger schools that had nicer things than we did. But now that portal kid walks in here and they see the new weight room, they see the new field house, and we're attracting a I don't want to say a better kid, but a more talented kid because of the new facilities.
So as visitors file into the newly renovated Setzler Field this fall for a new season of football, maybe they can remember a time long ago, more than 100 years in fact, when Newberry football fans of that era did the exact same thing, to sit in historic Setzler Field and cheer on their team. After all this time, perhaps not that much has changed after all, and that's a good thing. For Wolves Weekly, I'm Al Della Chica.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. While football was the week's big story, that's not all the Wolves have been up to. Let's take a look at what's happening with other teams over the past week. Starting off with women's soccer, the 9th-ranked Wolves hosted the Shorter Hawks last Thursday and began their season in fine fashion with a 5-0 shutout. They continued their winning ways on Sunday with a 1-0 shutout of Lees McRae. On Wednesday, they'll play a road game against Southern Wesleyan before returning to the Smith Road Complex to play Mars Hill on Saturday night. On the men's side, the Wolves took a road trip down to Florida, but the first game of the season did not go their way as they lost to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Daytona Beach 4-1. They fared no better against the Flagler Saints on Saturday, losing 5-1.
In volleyball, the Wolves began their season in the Chowan tournament last weekend in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. On the first day, the Wolves knocked off Elizabeth City State University 3-0. They followed that win with another 3-0 victory over the hosts Chowan later that evening. Lincoln Memorial, though, put a stop to the winning streak on Saturday with a 3-0 victory over the Wolves. On Tuesday evening, the team will host Anderson University at Eliezer Arena. In tennis, both men's and women's were on the road to play USC Sumter. The women's team finished its matches on Friday with a 9-0 record, while the men's team posted an 8-1 record against the Fire Ants. Both teams are now preparing for the Coker Invitational Tournament at Florence on September the 21st and 22nd.
And the Newberry field hockey team started its season last week, posting 2 wins. The second-ranked Wolves shut out the Coker Cobras on Thursday in a 7-0 victory and then defeated the Adelphi Panthers 4-3 on Sunday. The Wolves field hockey team heads to Gaffney to play Limestone College on Tuesday night. You can keep up with all the happenings in Newberry Athletics whenever you want and wherever you are by visiting the Newberry Athletics website, newberrywolves.com. There you'll find the latest scores and highlights on all of Newberry's sports teams, see full season schedules, and find out how to get game tickets, read about the student athletes of the week, and get the scoop about everything that's happening in the world of the Newberry Wolves. That's newberrywolves.com.
And of course, the Newberry football team returns to action Saturday evening. After facing a top 5 Division II team in Week 1, the Wolves will play host to the defending NAIA national champions here in Week 2 when the Kaiser University Seahawks come to Setzler Field.
Kaiser, the number 1 ranked team in NAIA football, comes into Newberry after defeating North Greenville University in a Week 1 overtime thriller 23-20. The Seahawks had an impressive 12-2 record a season ago, and they capped it all off by winning the NAIA National Championship against Northwestern College. This was the first national championship in the history of Kaiser's program.
Through one game in 2024, both Kaiser and Newberry look to be very, very strong in the running game. Kaiser rushed for 168 yards in their Week 1 victory against the North Greenville Trailblazers. Meanwhile, the Wolves gained 220 yards on the ground against Valdosta State, though in a losing effort. And Al, I know you're very, very excited to be on the call when these two ground and pound teams face off Saturday night at Setzler Field.
Absolutely, I sure am. Make sure you join me and Newberry Wolves Hall of Famer Jimmy Coggins Saturday night for the broadcast. Our coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. right here on Flo Sports.
And with that, this is all for the inaugural edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Brett Loftus.
And I'm Al Della Chica. Thank you for watching. Join us next week for more Wolves Weekly.
Keep up to date on the latest in Newberry College athletics with Wolves Weekly, available on Flo Sports and produced by NCTV Newberry.